Now, chapter 6 is where I want to focus just for a few minutes. I don't know how much time I have here. I'm trying to get through this, but...
Yeah, try to get to closing out pretty quick, and then
okay.
leave a little time for some questions, too.
Okay.
You may have some questions.
I'll do that then, okay. So, chapter 6 is the suit for dissolution of marriage. 6.001 is the head of the snake, in my opinion. We strike the head of the snake, and a lot of this stuff starts to wither away. Insupportability. On the petition of either party to a marriage, the court may grant a divorce without regard to fault if the marriage has become insupportable because of discord or conflict of personalities that destroys legitimate ends of the marital relationship and prevents any reasonable expectation of reconciliation. I'm sure that an attorney wrote that.
Yeah.
Some type of a lawyer. There are so many things that are wrong with this. Can anybody tell me what insupportability means?
That nobody wants to take responsibility for their action.
Nobody wants to take responsibility. Right. Nobody knows what it means. I went to Republicans. Can you tell me? I have no idea. Then I said, well, can you tell me what legitimate ends in the marital relationship are? And they're like, is this a trick question? No. This is your statute. You don't know what it means. And yet what it does, it becomes a tool to destroy families, destroy children.
I just want to say what I meant was, and this is the whole essence of this, thank you for doing this.
Right.
I believe since I was a kid this was wrong. It's amazing. What insupportability means, and this is why the communists are chipping away at moral values.
Right.
What it means is you don't have to take responsibility for your wrongdoings.
And that's how the antisocial, which is a communist, is ruining society. They're ripping out morals, and this is just one way to do it. If you're no longer supporting your part in your marriage because you can't take responsibility for your wrong actions,
right,
or somebody else's wrong actions, you got to make that other person stand up and be moral too. That's what I grew up in. I was born in 1953. We had responsibility in society.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying there. So do you want another question first here? And I agree with you 100%. It's a no-fault accident. It's a no-fault, I punched him in the face. What do you mean? How do you get a no-fault, I punched him in the face?
And I'm not going to change.
And I'm not going to change.
That's what the problem.
Okay, here's another question over here.
Sure.
When did this no-fault divorce thing start? What?
So the big snowball in America was when Ronald Reagan signed in California. He was governor of California. The interesting thing is Ronald Reagan said it was the biggest regret he had from public office. In 1992, I think it was, Gloria Steinem, because remember, a lot of these radical feminists were pushing this stuff. We want to have freedom, we want to have this. And then they said, well, we may not have anticipated the unintended consequences. In 2010, New York was the last state to actually accept no-fault divorce. The National Organization of Women joined the Catholic Church in opposing it. Now every state in America has no-fault divorce. But no-fault divorce has been horrible for women by and large, even though it gives the appearance it's good for them. Because generally speaking right now, and I'm not saying this I'm just going to state the facts, you know, about 70% of the no-fault divorces are filed by women. And again, the person who files wins. The fact that they get the divorce, a lot of times these marriages they should have a timeout. Say, wait a minute. Because there's a lot of divorce regret. Both men and women, we never should have been divorced. And the children have no say in the matter whatsoever.
That's your victim. I mean, if you want who's been through this, the victim is the kids. While the parents are selfishly moving forward, then the families are split, and the kids have to figure out, well, how's this new life work?
Right.
And it's very difficult.
So look, and the thing is, you said parents are moving on. Often it's only one parent.
Yeah.
Because no-fault divorce, remember, is unilateral. There is no defense. You can't stop it.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. In fact, if you try to stop it, it just costs you more money. The end result is the same. And attorneys, the divorce law attorneys, they won't tell you, hey, come hire me, you know, I'll fight for you, I'll do this. Can I win? No. They won't tell you that. What do they do first? They look at your bank statements. What are your assets? Oh, okay. So in the back of their mind, how much are you worth for us? How much can you help to fund our kids' education? How much can you fund our lifestyle with? This is what's going on. This is the reality. behind this whole thing. This is in our Texas Family Code, the Marxist Monstrosity. Go ahead.
Can you tell us what the commission, the name of the commission in Austin that you're going before? What's the name of that group? And what can we do to make a difference?
Okay, so the committee that we go to is the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee. Now, what happens
Can you
is
run that back again slower?
the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee.
Okay.
Since as long as I can remember, even though Republicans are in the majority, the chair is always a Democrat.
Oh, no.
Go figure.
Yes. And this is, I believe, probably the most important committee one of them anyway, because if the breakdown of the family contributes to whether it's crime, whatever it is, every single thing. But we just want to have programs to help fix things afterwards. Really what we should be doing is trying to stop it. So Harold Dutton has been the chair a lot of times. We had Victoria Niave, and I'm glad that she's out of there. She was a divorce attorney, feminist radical divorce attorney. There's a whole bunch of stuff about her. Anyway, she decided to run against Nathan Johnson and lost, so she's out of the whole picture right now. But anyway, that is the committee. There is a bill coming up right now. It's called HB 931. Now, I looked at the bill. I think if I were to grade it, I would probably grade it maybe a B. It's a good bill. Cody Vasut has put this forward. Cody Vasut is a good man, Christian man. I believe he wants to get rid of no-fault divorce, but what he's done, he's made it so that now you can have a covenant marriage. Covenant marriage is basically, it makes it harder to get divorced. Really, it's more of a religious sort of thing, because if you get married in a church as part of your obedience to Christ, why is the state allowed to, a secular state, maybe a homosexual or lesbian judge, maybe all sorts of things, allowed to divorce you?
What was that number again?
House Bill 931, it's Cody Vasut.
How do you spell his name?
V-C-O-D-Y. The last name is V-A-S-U-T. And I haven't been able to talk with him. I've texted him since, but I haven't gotten a response back. It's a good bill. I also think, though, it doesn't completely strike at the head of the snake, but it's needed in Texas. It is needed. Absolutely.
Yes, I understand that if you get married under a license, that you have a greater covenant with the state than each other, and the state owns your children. How can you comment on that?
So I would actually say that's correct. As I mentioned, the way that one of the underlying premises behind the Texas Family Code is that the children belong to the state. Eventually, you may be the caretaker right now, but the state can always determine what's better or worse for your children. Now, they've pushed back on that a little bit. The marriage license thing, I think primarily from what I've seen and from what I've heard from other people, is that it creates, instead of, husband, wife, God, husband, wife, maybe God, but state. We're going to dictate how things work. And that's basically so that if you get divorced, which you may not even want, they can collect child support. So, and they will tell you when you can see your children. You're a father or a mother, and the state can tell you when you can see your children, and if you see them outside these times, you can be arrested and put in jail. You may not be able to see your children for years. You may have your children abducted by a spouse and taken to another state, and there's nothing you can do, and you're a good mother or a good father. How insidiously evil is this stuff? But yes, the state, to me, with the marriage license, they are not upholding their own purpose, let alone they're not upholding the intent and the vows that have taken place. And I'll get to the religious part in just a minute as well. Go ahead.
Paul Jensen, a family member, shocked when he found out his wife divorced him, and the no-fault divorces in the state of Oregon. I don't know if it's possible here in Texas. The paperwork for the no-fault divorce is a template, and the only thing that changes between one divorce to another is the name of the people getting divorced.
Right.
And he was not allowed to put anything in there. So because the wife was saying, you know what, that I can't say in public. And the judge knew that, allowed him to put a paragraph in there to protect if it ever came up differently. So there's ways to get around that. But it's the Texas thing the same way. It's just a template, put in the names, and that's about the only difference.
So, and that's basically true, absolutely. They do have templates that they use, that they can view that stuff. They can be tailored somewhat. But another thing is, your divorce attorney may actually sabotage you so that you have to go back to him again. There's this thing called the right of first refusal. So if you do have a divorce that you can't stop, and the mother usually, and more it's the father right now, but it's becoming more that direction, but usually it's the mother who gets the children. It's like 90-some% of the time, basically, and the father becomes a visitor. The father is the wallet, sometimes it's the other way around. But you should have a right of first refusal, and yet they won't put that in there, and then you have to go back to court again and again and again, and you may not see your children for years. You may lose all relationship with them.
What's right of first refusal on that?
The right of first refusal says, like, if it's your spouse's time with the kids, which the state has mandated because somehow they know best what's good for your family, that if they're going to be gone for 4 hours or 8, I think it's 4 hours, that they can offer you, that you get the first right to say, hey, I'll take the kids during that time. So I can be with my children. I'm missing them anyway. I want to be with my children. And some people have asked for that to be put in, and the attorney, they forgot. But the court order is signed. And look, there's a whole lot of crap that goes on with this. It's horrible.
But I want to add to what Paul was asking. There are templates, but you can add whatever you want. And we have a responsibility ourselves. Just like that thing right there, we can look that up. That is available online, the Texas Family Code. And yes, it sucks, for lack of better words, that it's so much in there, but we also have a responsibility to research what our rights are. And we don't have to rely on lawyers. Believe me, I learned the hard way.
Right.
But I work with lawyers, I deal with legal stuff all the time, and a lot of it is because we don't know our rights, is why we get the short end of the stick. And so we need to take responsibility and find out what our rights are, not rely just on the lawyers. Because, I worked with one lawyer, and he would actually answer the phone when he was kidding. He says, hello, my name is Ben, I'm a lawyer, and he was joking, but not joking.
Right.
Because that's just the nature of the beast, because they're up against, judges who are crooked and corrupted, and so it's a big game. It is a big game.
Most people don't know what they're entering into. Most people think, if I just tell the truth, the judge is going to hear me and going to decide. It does not happen that way.
And the truth will bite you in the butt sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's terrible to say, but sometimes it depends on how you word it. You can still tell the truth without selling yourself out, basically.
But you also have to dig up dirt against your spouse. One person said this: the absolute worst thing to happen to children is family courts. It's the worst thing.
If you're getting close to being done, I want to make sure that you have all the access to get information out to us and contacts. So if people have questions, they know somebody, they need help with something, they have questions, they can get to you. We do have one more announcement before we move on, so we're getting pretty close to
Do we have
having
any more
to close out.
questions?
Candy has one
I
here.
just want to say, this is so timely. Late last night as I was falling asleep, Rhonda Hurst had published something, and I just looked up, GISD is Georgetown near Austin. Do you know what? Did you see this yet? What you're saying is true. They put out to third graders, I think it said, from Ray M. McCoy's GISD. And it's a poem the children had to go over. My parents are making me crazy. And I won't read the whole thing, but it's like, I'll just read the first paragraph. My parents are making me crazy. They're driving me utterly mad. I'm mental because of my mother, and I'm losing it thanks to my dad. And it goes over the next 3 paragraphs, how they're in, you want to read the whole thing? Okay, I'll read it.
No.
Well, he said read it, but I'll read the next one. so you get an idea. My mom tells me, go do your homework. My dad's yelling, vacuum the floors. Then mom says, turn off the TV now, and dad hollers, finish your chores. With all of their grousing and griping, griping, my brain is beginning to hurt. My dad shouting, clean up the kitchen. My mom saying, tuck in your shirt. I feel like I'm losing my marbles if I go bananas today. And please give this note to my parents when the funny farm takes me away. I wrote to Rhonda Hurst at about 12 o'clock last night. This is communism. This is North Austin, and we own a lot of property in Austin. They are trying to destroy our rights and everything, and then to see this. Yeah, but it's communism. I recognize it because my sister's a film producer, and she looked up what the Russians did to destroy just what you're saying, and they're doing it here, and it's in Austin.
In 1926, the Atlantic magazine, that's a conservative magazine, right? It's not conservative at all, but they wrote an article in July of 1926 after the revolution that basically said it's called the Russian effort to abolish marriage. And what was happening within Russia, they were saying, what do? We have all these problems. And the interesting thing is that Stalin had to reverse some of the stuff because it was so bad on society. Stalin actually had to start denying divorces and getting rid of some of the stuff. It destroyed society that badly. One person told me, Jeff, the one thing you can look forward to is this. Divorce has destroyed so many people that maybe they're going to have to start to do it because like the communists found out they had no raw materials to work with because they had destroyed the family so badly. And I just have 1 minute, if you don't mind here, because this is, I won't cut it after this. This is a decision that Kem Thompson Frost wrote in 2001, Weight versus Weight, W-A-I-T-E versus Weight. And basically what she said is that based on Article 1, Section 6 of the Texas Constitution, that the no-fault divorce laws in Texas were unconstitutional. Why? Because when you ask what is legitimate ends of the marital relationship, it's like Christmas. What's the legitimate purpose of Christmas? For Christians, we talk about worshiping Christ. It's celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ into the world. For secular people, it may be Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Friday the Snowman. For some people, in our cities, they often have both dual purposes. But if there is a religious purpose involved, like the legitimate ends of the marital relationship is to glorify God, we go through the steps, we have made our commitment to God. The state is not even allowed to inquire as far as what your rights of conscience are with regard to religion. Our founders wanted to protect that right so strongly that in Texas, Article 1, Section 6 is stronger than what we have in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And no-fault divorce is unconstitutional. We know this.
Yeah.
But our Republican legislators who've been in power have not done anything.
Because they're crooks. We already uncovered a lot of their crimes. They're not really they're criminals, not Republicans, some of them.
Some of them, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff, I would like to thank you.
Yes.
I don't have a clock, so I don't know how long I spoke or anything, probably too
How do
long.
we reach him for further activities and work with you, all of us?
So I've talked with Mike Zoll, and he has my contact information. I have a YouTube channel, by the way. It's if you look up Jeff Morgan, No Fault Divorce, you'll see my stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
we do a lot of lobbying. At least I know I go to Austin a lot during legislation. So
Yeah.
I like to help with that bill
Yeah.
because we definitely need to do that because, you know, even in your no fault disclosure thing that you read, there's not one thing about God in there. Just like you said, you know, and as you said, you know, marriage is an institute that God ordained, you
Right.
know, and it says what God has put together that no man puts under, and we've ripped that out. And just one more comment, I was fortunate enough to get involved with, not involved, but I read his books and listened to Tim LaHaye.
Yeah.
And he brought all that up and think by the grace of God, I mean, while my children are not perfect, you know, I was able to keep them out of some of that stuff because he talked about the breaking down the inhibitions of the children
Right.
against the families. And so it's not just husband and wife, it's also children against parents and parents against children. We're just in a vicious cycle, but thank you so much for what you're doing.
And by the Texas courts, by the way, the Texas courts actually acknowledge that marriage is a divine institution with sacred status and sacred rights, an institution and status ordained by God, not originated by human law. The courts know what's wrong, and we still have it in place.
That's good.
Thank you very much.